Well, apparently I'm in this car now with this thing. Whatever. We had our first paying customer. I know this is not the topic of this video, and there will be a video about this soon. The week before last week, on Friday, we delivered our first battery. It took us pretty much all week to do it. And the first weekend that the customer had the car, obviously it's a beta customer, and they had some trouble here and there. So I'm putting off making the video until I know absolutely for sure that it's working perfectly. This customer is going to like East Germany and to the Alps very soon with the car, so it's like the perfect car. They live very close to us. It's the perfect customer to give the first battery to, and to have them tested very thoroughly, and also do like fast charging and everything. So, but anyway, we are now at the point that these extended batteries, the technology is working, all our hardware is kind of finished. We're now doing production stuff, figuring out how to produce it fast enough to deliver all the batteries to our customers. And there are some questions that have been left unanswered so far. So one of the first questions that people have is, how does it look? How much space do I actually lose in the trunk? And we're gonna have videos about that very soon, in the next roughly 2 weeks. But there's another question that is kind of fun to answer, and I had a couple friends over today who were willing to help with their cars to answer the question, how much performance do I lose? Like, how much slower is it, and how is handling and that kind of stuff. And well, I can't really show you visually how the performance differs and how the handling is different, but what I can show you is how quick it is, how fast it goes from 0 to 60. Obviously on a closed road. Let's be very clear about this. We're not doing anything illegal. This is not a street race that we're showing. We're on a closed off section of the road, and we decided to do some drag races with the modified Leaf. So this Leaf, our car, and an unmodified Leaf, the loaner car that's going to be modified probably next week. And as a bonus, we also did a drag race against one of my friend's cars, a very old Volvo with a giant petrol engine which makes lots of noise and does lots of wheel spin, which was fun. So yeah, enjoy. is quite obvious that the Leaf is not a particularly quick car. It's not a Tesla. But interestingly, it is barely slower when coupled with the extender battery. So the extender battery is roughly 160 kilograms, and the empty car with a 75 kilogram driver is about 1.5 tons. So the car is roughly 10% heavier. And this means that you would expect it to accelerate roughly 10% slower. But in reality, what happens is that up to like 30 kilometers an hour, roughly, the motor is not at max power. The actual power output is lower because it is torque limited, and that means that you're not... It's a little bit complicated, but you're not actually getting the full 10% slowdown with a 10% heavier car. It's actually a bit less. So it turns out that it's probably between 5 and 10% slower. It averages out to about 7% to 100 kilometers an hour, which of course we didn't drive because 100 kilometers an hour... it is quite clear that the Leaf isn't a super quick car, but the difference, like honestly, if you can perceive the difference between the modified Leaf and the unmodified Leaf and how quick it is off the line, honestly, it is such a small difference. It is sub 10%. It's about 7% slower. The 0 to 100 kilometers an hour time is... It's barely slower. It's a fairly slow car as it is. You're not gonna... It's not like the difference between 2.3 and 2.8 seconds, which obviously is a very much higher G-force difference than this. So I would say I was kind of surprised, positively surprised, that the drag performance hasn't decreased that much, and really surprised that it could keep up with the Volvo. The Volvo has much more power, but obviously it's an ICE car, so you don't have all the power and all the torque available, and doesn't have ESP. It's like a very old car. It's probably lost some horsepower. So yeah. But even at higher speed, like usually ICE cars at higher speed, they catch up. This one didn't, and probably partly driver experience. Let's be real. But it is also just like kind of testament to how the Leaf is fast enough, in my opinion, for a car. Now, I told you about the conversion, and the handling as it goes does change a little bit. I kind of really showed you here. I'm gonna try to capture it somehow. But with the extra battery in the back, usually the rear of the Leaf is very light. It's got fairly stiff springs, but it's especially like the combination of low mass in the rear and fairly stiff springs that makes it feel fairly sporty. And with the extra weight, you do feel it. It gets more tail heavy, and it feels less nippy, especially in corners. So our first customer reported back that the car definitely, like, he puts it in drive, not in eco mode anymore, because it just like feels too slow. And I guess I would agree. Like the feel in the car, that kick from the kick when you push in the gas pedal, electron pedal, I guess. It is a little bit dulled. It's only 10%, but it is dulled. So it becomes more enjoyable in drive than in eco mode. That being said, we only drive in eco. We don't really care about performance. We just want a smooth ride. So as far as our personal car goes, we don't mind. Really depends on what kind of driver you are. But yeah, this is the question answered. Is it any slower? Yes, it is slower. It is consistently slower. We did a couple runs and it was always lost. But the difference is not that super great. It's like 10%. You're not going to notice a 10% slower car, especially in the long run. So, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you soon.